live with aphasia. So sometimes I cannot think of the word I need to say. And it would be great if this world had patience and let me figure out the word I say before making that assumption. I am hard of hearing as well due to the same medication episode. So I'm part of a hard of hearing and deaf community group with Travis through the CNCF. And since I do work with experts building things for global populations, I really enjoy being a part of these groups so I can include people who have different lived experience who might use the software different and add diversity to our content. Thank you.
Oh, hi, I'm Travis Johnson. So I'm from New York in the United States. I'm a level three engineer from Convo Communication, and I was born hearing, but then 6 months I became deaf because I had meningitis. So, but I do have residual hearing loss in my left side, so it's like severe to profound. So I wear a hearing aid up until when I was 24. I went and get a cochlear implant. And so I got surgery and got a cochlear implant. So I grew up with speech therapists, it's actually speech language pathologists. They actually work on my speech and make sure we work on it. I mean, it's I think we have like we work with speech therapists maybe like every day, or I can't remember what it's like growing up. It's like it's become a distant memory. So sometimes I have a hard time speaking very clearly because I don't always hear the word, like sophisticated word or words that I actually type down. That really simplifies a lot of ideas. Like it's really explaining like the concept. It's like, but I find myself like I have to like avoid using those words and come up with other type of words. So it's like, okay, use the basic word. I find myself like speaking at length. I have to talk about like lengthy topic, but it's really it could be condensed if I can use so sophisticated word. But I don't know how to pronounce this, and this transcription app may not be able to pick up. So a part of the problem that I cannot speak clearly because I can't really hear the word. Like in the past, I couldn't even say my name right. It's so embarrassing. My speech therapist say, "Oh, you have to say the T right." So I had to remind myself how to say. There's also there's the difference between the letter B, like um, bear, and the letter V as a what's the word for V? I can't think of a word to start with V. Okay, it's not a lot of words that start with V, but they all sound the same. So it's like it's hard for me differentiate between those words. Um, so yeah, that's why I'm here. Uh, oh, by the way, I should mention that I'm part of the TNC Deaf and Hard Hearing Working Crew for like a year right now. So thank you. That'll be all. Yeah.
Thank you. Um, I can go next. Also, I just wanted to make sure that Greg, I know sometimes it's difficult for you to find there's closed captioning that appears on the screen, and if you go down to the bottom of the Zoom window, there's a CC box that you can click on. Okay,
Sorry,
that might
Paul.
help.
Is it, sorry, this is the left-hand side or what?
It's on the bottom. So if you scroll, or if you just point your mouse to the bottom,
Okay,
and you should see participants, chat, react, share, apps.
correct. Yeah.
The next one is closed captions, CC.
Uh,
And if you click on that, a little window will
Oh,
pop up with the transcription inside it.
so Paul, do I click on more? I got share,
Oh,
apps, record, more,
oh yes, click on more then if you can't see it. Yep.
more, and then click. Okay, okay, okay. Very good.
And then it
And
should be
there should be
CC.
about a full uh, it says caption language, view full transcript, caption settings.
Um, let's see.
I think,
Bef- Before
I
that,
th
there should be, yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think before you hit the 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 caret, if you just hit the CC, it should start
right.
maybe.
Yes. So click outside of that, click back on the screen, back on your, maybe even your image, right? And then,
Okay.
and
Oh, okay.
then
Yeah. Okay. Now I see it. Okay.
CC. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Good.
Okay.
So now you can follow along too. Um, so I'm Paul Dedecker. I'm a linguistics professor in um, Newfoundland and Labrador in Canada. And I am I've only recently identified or admitted that I'm hard of hearing. Um, I've been hard of hearing for most of my life, but I always tried to say, "Oh, it's other people who are mumbling and they're not talking clearly." Um, so in the past 6 years or so, um, I've I've tried hearing aids, to some success, not always entirely successful, um, and but I've only recently, talked about this with other people too, and been public about it. So the diagnosis that I received was profound hearing loss, and I would probably agree with that because unless somebody is looking at me and I can see their mouths, I can't understand what they're saying. So if they're not looking at me or they're in another room or I'm in a noisy place, I'm I can I can understand very little of the conversation that's going on. So that's my lived experience, and my research is slowly starting to combine some of that background and interest in communication differences. So I've been working with Greg over the past 4 or 5 years now, because it's almost five. Um, we're growing old together, aren't we, Greg? Uh,
We are, Paul.
and so we've been producing a podcast um, about stuttering and other communication differences, and that's been a lot of it's been a lot of fun, but it's been a lot of work, and we're starting to branch out into other types of communicative differences, communicative diversity, beyond stuttering. So we're interested in talking and telling the stories of people with autism, people who are deaf, people who are hard of hearing, people who are nonverbal. So we're slowly expanding our base into more areas. And so Onya Dakachi um, reached out to us a few months back, and I was very pleased to see that she was starting her own podcast about stuttering. And I think the world is a better place when we all work together and cooperate. So I think that's why we're here, because she invited us to come talk and learn more from each other.
Hi. My my name is Greg O'Grady. I you know I I am a professional stutterer who specializes in overt stuttering. Now the the reason why I introduce myself this way is that just as a reminder that I spent so many yesteryears trying to hide my stuttering that it actually reminds me as the prices that I paid emotionally and psychologically trying to hide my stuttering. But just just to share a little bit about myself. I live in Newfoundland, and I retired from the city of Toronto after a 35-year career. And as Paul was saying, I've been working closely with Paul to raise awareness about studying within Newfoundland and Labrador. And I'm the co-host of Some Stud Law, and I'm the chair of the Newfoundland and Labrador Stuttering Association. Yeah. So anyway, and unfortunately, I will have to log off at 1 o'clock because I have another meeting to go to. It's a timing, and unfortunately, I had this meeting scheduled before, and but the time zones. But anyhow, so it's it is wonderful, meeting all of you, and I'm sure that we will be in contact. So don't be surprised if I log off at 1 o'clock.
That's fine, Greg. Thanks everyone for the amazing introductions. I've gotten to learn about everyone, and so the vibe for in this call, we want it to be very, very chill, very, very relaxed, and I told Paul that there is no slides, just having fun and conversations. So does anyone have anything to share? Listen, maybe their lived experience, or listen, maybe any instance that they've felt their speech being different in a place, or if our guests also have like anything they would love to let us know, this is the time.
Um, I'm interested in the group that we have here. So I know you're all tech workers, and and so how are you guys connected though?
I'm I met Travis about a year and a half ago, online through the deaf and hard of hearing community. And
Okay.
then we've met in person maybe twice now at CubeCons. Once. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you both in? I know Travis, you said you're in New York. Amy June, are you in New York as well?
I live between a couple places, but mostly San Francisco Bay Area in
Oh,
California.
okay, great. I used to live in New York. I went to I did my PhD at NYU, so I'm familiar. I was familiar with the city. I was back there last year, and everything's changed again. So it's a different city entirely.
So yeah, I so that's how Amy and I met. We met at KubeCon. But I was like I mentioned, I was part of the TNCF, Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group.
Hmm.
I just so happen to find that group only because I actually working on certification that Amy's probably working on, so
Mhm.
because I because I naturally I work in tech, so I typically get AT certification. So I joined this group and I'm like, oh my goodness, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group, and they were like talk about talk on LinkedIn, and that's how I found out about the group. So
Hmm.
that's how we got connected. So also I'm in another we have other initiate it's like well it's right now they changed its name, but I was part of the other initiatives, include this one in
Hmm.
CNCF. So that's how we find out about each other.
Good, good. Are there a lot of opportunities for people with communication disabilities or communicate differences to I guess so are there a lot of opportunities to communicate with each other, but also I guess the question before that would be what types of um, issues or concerns do you face in the tech industry?
Can I start
Yeah,
this one?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So I've been working in tech since 2015, and I've always been remote.
Hmm.
When I have to go into work, and not have captions. I
Yeah.
have audio processing issues as well. So I I faced more challenges before the shelter in place. Then everyone went to Zoom,
Hmm.
and the AI became so much better with technology focused words that I was able to participate more in meetings and
Hmm.
have some input versus having to wait for transcriptions and such. But I always found it challenging because what I do and what I love is mentoring people, and I do that in a, a, a number of ways. And one of them is public speaking.
Hmm.
So I am a public speaker. But when you're a public speaker, you also go to events and you go to events to learn, and you go to an event and there's no captioning.
Hmm.
And so a couple of years ago, I've switched not careers, but genres, no, organizations that I've worked for. And I work at the Linux Foundation, and one of their major outlets for revenue is events. And so a few years ago, the team, the deaf and hard of hearing team, led by a fantastic leader, started talking to the events management team about having ASL interpreters and captions. And I think that was maybe just 2.5 years ago. So for people who have been in tech for a really long time,
Wow.
now we can actually go and hear people and have interpreters and have lunch together, have lunch with people who, like, I don't sign, but so I would feel alone with my working group because they would sign and I wouldn't know what they were talking about. But now we have interpreters, so everyone can be included in the round tables at lunch. So I've noticed, like, just the awareness of all of us coming to more events and having shared experiences and being offered a place on the stage has been really great just in the last 2 years, which is great, but also a little bit sad that it's just been the last 2 years versus
Hmm.
all the times that we've been in tech. But I try to be on the positive side and think about how much more I feel included when I just tell people, hey, do you know that Google Slides has captions?
Hmm.
And they'll be like, no, I don't know that. I'm like, okay, let me show you how how to do it, you know? So people are definitely becoming more aware as we get to share our life experiences.
Right. Wow. Thank you, Amy June. Travis, I think you might be muted.
So I can talk about my experience. So since I born, I mean, I was born here, but I've been deaf practically my whole life. So I started early intervention at one of it's not a local school, but we have like school in across the United States. And we, at the same time, there's like the ADA became law like in the 90s, right? So I had IEP growing up in the United States, so it's like they made things accessible for the deaf and hard of hearing student in in a state across yeah across the country. So I started going to school at the age of 2, and I got a hearing aid. I started wearing a hearing aid at the age of 2. But at home with my family, they really they learn that I'm deaf, but they don't really know what to do. Like they learn sign language, but it's so much. It's like it's a lot of work to learn sign language, and I was just talking about that with my other peers, saying that because you have to recognize Black people are like the minority. We're underrepresented, in America. We went through oppression, and so we have to understand my mother, my uncle, my grandmother didn't have like that educational background
Hmm.
to be able to give me the resource that I need to like they can like learn sign language and actually teach me sign language and learn it themselves as well. That's the same thing we see with Spanish and Latino people in the country. Um, they immigrate like they immigrate in this country, but the first generation Latino, they only know English, and their parents they stuck with they only know Spanish, and they try to pick up English, but they can't really learn so much. It's like so it's the same problem. So I grew up. I went to a school specialized for deaf and hard of hearing students. So I have teacher of deaf who's hearing, but they teach. Um, they know sign language, and so I learned sign. But at the same time, they encouraged me to speak and sign. So if you have the ability to speak, use it. So they encourage that. But there are some school in America where it's like you're not allowed to sign. You can only speak. They have like ruler. It's just they slap your hand. Like don't you cannot. I mean, that's how it is. In some of the older deaf school, they teach that method. It's really it traumatized. I heard that about from other older deaf student. They talk elderly stuff student. They talk about that. So
Hmm.
but my experience different, but yeah, so I always been fortunate to like be around my peer who's deaf and hard of hearing themselves, and that's all the way up until yeah, even in college. I went to college at this is why I live in Rochester, New York, because we have three colleges in the United States that actually had a very large deaf and hard of hearing program. So there's one at Gallaudet University down in Washington, D.C. There's that well, the Gallaudet University, they teach mostly liberal art topic, like liberal art, but we don't have a school that teach techno topic, like engineering and technology. And so that's where RIT comes in. So one of the colleges at RIT is National Techno Institute for the Deaf.
Hmm.
So it's founded here in Rochester, New York, by LBJ, where he signed the charter. So and also there's another school in oh no, it's not in Canada. I meant to say California. Um, so it's California. I forgot what it stands for, but we only call refer to by CSUN. It's like CSUN. So those three major deaf and hard of hearing program in the United States. So most deaf people I know go there if they can, so that they don't have to deal with because it's really difficult to request for accommodation. It's very tiring. It's like it's also a reason why I don't really go out and look for a new job. Like I can like, oh, the grass is always greener. I'm gonna find me a new job, but it's like little do they know is that I have to like tell the HR, hey, I'm gonna need this, I need that, and so it's exhausting. I went through that, so I first started out at at Prudential. They're very nice. They have like a great accessibility team. Um, but I did have a kind of a bad experience. So, um, oh, okay, so yeah, okay,
Yeah, sorry,
bad
Greg
experience
had
with
to leave. Yeah.
where let's see, my boss is trying to be understanding, but it's just to get the accommodation. It's been hard. So
Hmm.
that was the turning point for me because I realized I would not be able to understand and hear them. So I kind of like decided to get a cochlear implant because my hearing aid can only do so much.
Hmm.
So that's when I get a cochlear implant, and it helped. It helped.
Good.
I got on a little too late, and because that fear that I had, it kind of like a couple years ago, I was working at Source in Communication. it's really that friendly because it's actually provide services for the deaf and hard of hearing. It's actually it's a direct competitor at where I work for Combo, and it's an interpreter here. She's my colleague. So yeah, so naturally it's very accommodating to a deaf and hard of hearing employee. But so I was looking for another job while trying to leave sourcing, and there was this one job. It's like this guy was so nice. He said I nailed the technical interview. I did very great, but then he told me the second round I'm gonna have to talk through this speakerphone, and there's no way for me to relive. It's like,
No, right.
and I'm like, I can't move to the next round. It's
Hmm.
very discouraging. Um, so. So that's it brings me to where I'm at Combo
Yeah.
Communication. Been working here for like the last 6 years. So how
Thank
can
you.
I
Yeah.
get involved with tech and communication? I just want to make sure that we get the words out, let people know about our what it's like to be deaf, working, because little do people know that it's hard for the deaf and hard of hearing individual to deal with accommodation on top of their average workload. So it's like it's not just because you just clock in and clock out, but it's like for us we have to deal with the scheduling. Like, oh yeah, I have to get an interpreter for this meeting, and
Hmm.
but really it should be someone's job at HR. So it's really it's tiring, but I just want to
For
get
sure.
that
For sure.
message out. Yeah. So I know I say a lot, but it's just
No, no, it's great. It's excellent. I'm glad you're able to say a lot. Um, so I'm super interested in your experiences. I approach communication, disabilities, and diversity from a sociological point of view. So not much interested in, I mean, I am interested in the neuroscience of like how do brains operate with disabilities, but I'm interested in why we have disabilities from a social perspective. How to what degree does society make that disability, and to what degree does society accommodate disabilities? So yeah, so both Amy June and your experience, Travis, um, are super interesting from my point of view. From a I know you aren't just subjects to be researched; you're human beings. But my research is designed to speak for people, and to make significant changes in society, um, so that you can get the accommodation, so you don't have to go to HR and have HR not understand what you're asking for, or have HR deny what you're asking for because it wouldn't be cost effective, right? How many times have we heard that? Um, so all these experiences are exactly the type of um, research that I'm interested in knowing more about the people's lived experiences, right? So in the tech industry, I come from the academic industry, and and I know all the different issues and barriers that I've also had, and I still have to um, apply every year to be able to teach online. Um, uh, the default is that you will teach in person in class, in a classroom where there's no accommodation for my hearing, hard of hearing capacities. So it is it's a universal thing. Like it just seems like why are we in 2025? Why are we still have to beg and prove that we need these accommodations, right?
Yeah, I would also like him to share about my own experiences because as in someone who stutters, I I have not really seen people like me mainstream and they are um overt about it. Most times we have always been told to try to fix the way we speak, or and try to talk and slowly um think think about your words before you say it out. And really it does not really help us, because by the time you are doing all of that, and then you're not seeing a good result, you start internalizing doubts, and it does not even help the person. And I am actually reached out to Catherine about the stuttering and the speech and diversity initiatives, because year in year out I am always see speakers in the tech space speaking with the perfect speech. I I rarely saw anyone speaking the way I did, and it and just like I just felt that speech and diversity was not really out there, because it just seems as if people like me, people that speak the way I do, does not belong in that particular setting. And although I am got to know about orally. Sorry, I am mispronouncing her name. She's an amazing public speaker in the CNCS space, and she also stutters, and then she also shared her experience about her being a public speaker for like 10 years, but like she has only seen two people that speaks the way she endorses, giving keynotes or presentations. So that was what like brought up about this speech and diversity initiative, because it is very, very clear that we need to talk more about it, to bring everyone in the discussion. And I hope in the future, in the next five years, we see a shift in the way society accept communication. I don't believe communication should be smooth and perfect. Communication should come from the way you can speak, and how you can communicate effectively, and not being boxed in a particular way for everyone to speak.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great. I totally agree. One of the reasons I got involved with stuttering is I used to work on English dialects. So I was a dialectologist. I studied variation in dialects, mostly in the mostly in North America. Um, but what's very common um, for dialects, for people who speak regional dialects that are not considered standard, is the amount of stigma that gets associated with it. Um, People who speak a non-standard variety, like in Newfoundland where I work, um, it's considered the speakers are considered uneducated, stupid, lazy, and all the other negative terms you can think of, right? Um, so this the discourse and the ideologies around non-standard ways of speaking is what brought me to working with Greg and people who stutter. There's the same stigma. If you are a person who stutters, you may get perceived as being as lying. There's people have been detained at airports for stuttering because the TSA agent says, "Oh, you must be lying to me. We're going to take you aside and interrogate you. Um, but also uneducated. Or if you are disfluent, it must means you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know how to say what you're talking about. Um, so these ideologies about what makes speech correct and what makes good speech the way everybody should be speaking is is kind of this like thread that ties all of these communication differences together. And I like to use communicative differences and diversity um, because it's a fairly neutral term. Um, Not everybody who communicates differently um, identifies as having a disability. Certainly, we don't see dialects as disabilities, but some of the same reactions that we have to regional dialects are the same reactions we have to people who speak, people who have communication disabilities. Um, so this term is kind of subjective, and it takes a community to agree that something is a disability. Whether you're inside that community or outside a disability community, um, there's a lot of internal dynamics that go into deciding whether something is a disability, right? Or a disorder. Disorder is a word I have a hard time with. Um, because it's very stigmatizing to individuals, right? People are not disordered. The way people respond to people with disabilities may be disordered, but I don't think a brain is disordered. A brain functions the way it does. Um, Brains are just different from each other. Um, so yeah, so I could go on this topic, but I really what I'm hearing from you guys is make is creating the message that there are more ways to communicate. There are more than one perfect way to talk. Um, we can be deaf and hard of hearing, and still be able to communicate effectively. Um, so that I think that's a message that the rest of the world still needs to hear. But how do we become strategic in communicating those words, right? So at work, in particular, from the stories you guys have been telling, um, what do we say to your employers? What do we say to HR offices? How do we bring them into the conversation? Do you guys do is your workspace or your office, do they have the ability to communicate with HR and kind of teach HR and upper management about what it means to communicate differently than the standard form, which is valued in a capitalist society? Do you guys have options to talk to HR?
I'll speak to this
Yeah.
because I've switched organizations 3 times
Hmm.
in the last 6 years, and it is always surprising to me how I have to educate HR themselves about what, because I'm also physically disabled.
Hmm.
So, how I need a chair or a standing desk
Hmm.
or captions or patience in meetings. Like, I need to know when I'm going to get called on so I can write out my script because I don't always remember the words. But I always am moderately surprised that I am the one educating the
Hmm.
people's team. And I ask, am I the first person you've had that's asked for an accommodation? And I don't do it in a mean way, but it isn't my job to educate them, so I'm always
Hmm.
surprised. Um, I generally have an okay time because I've worked with big companies like the Linux Foundation is like 300 people, but my
Hmm.
team is only six. So my six people, the six others know all about me and know about my challenges And sometimes when we're in the broader team meeting, which is like 22 people, they know my challenges, but I still have to remind them to give me more time to speak. And then I've had one person in the wider community not want me to do a presentation on accessibility because my speech, they felt I wasn't a good public speaker,
Wow.
which really hurt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I work with larger communities in tech where I help build events. And when the organizing team wants to have a video snippet of a speaker, I say no, or a sound wave, because not all of us talk the same way, and I don't think we
Mm-hmm.
should be judged on the quality of our English or if we say
Mm-hmm.
because we need that as a placeholder to remember our words. Um, but I do find myself educating more than being understood from the beginning, going back to what you said, Paul, about society kind of disabling us and holding us back a little bit more. But once I have the conversation with HR, they're very apologetic,
Mm-hmm.
but I just feel like in this diverse space of where we live called planet Earth, have you never come across someone with my particular lived experience seems amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that is. It, it's just the opposite of how I approach life too. Like I don't approach life by here's our rules and we can only stick to these rules. Um, it takes creativity to come up with accommodations, and it takes creativity to think beyond the rules that your company or your organization adheres to. Um, and it's not difficult to figure out what it is that people need, right? Yeah, I think it's you can do that with in a very fairly short conversation, if they're if you know what you need, right? It's just an issue of communicating it and seeing how it can be brought in. This and I agree that I can be idealistic and a dreamer and naive, but maybe that's my superpower. Maybe I'm making complicated issues. I'm simplifying them. I'm making it easier for everybody. Um, but I would love to be able to stay in touch with you guys and even come to produce something, make something, whether it's research in terms of how human resources departments could be more accommodating to providing accommodations, or whether it's something else, another research project entirely. But I think if you guys have the interest, I'd be happy to stay on board with you and figure out how we can change the world, because the world can be changed and it needs to be changed.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be okay with that for sure. You can connect me on LinkedIn. Yeah, I just want to talk about how we have our challenges with communication. Because yesterday I was in a meeting. Because we have a hearing person that joined the meeting, and you see what I'm doing right now. I'm signing, but we call it simultaneous communication,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just I have a habit of because I grew up in a hearing household. So if they're the hearing person like in a meeting with me, it's just I mean, I don't want people to think I always felt obligated to speak, but it's just because I can hear what's happening in the meeting. It's not like I can't just take off my cochlear implant and just go in the meeting and try to understand what's happening. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's not who I am. So when I hear things, it's just that I feel like I have to you know, I need to speak it. It's hard for me to explain to my because my deaf colleague is it pretty controversial. If I like because because when a deaf person is like trying to accommodate a hearing person by like speaking or it's like
Mm,
we kind of like make it speaking a dominant language when in my case it's like it's tough because it's like it's part of my identity. It's hard for me to like just separate away from it. It's not only that, but it's also because like I don't really 100% fit in like a in the signing world all the way because sometimes when I sign, people do like don't catch everything I'm saying. And it's
mm,
like it's I don't know. It's like something to do with my the shape of my hand, or it's how it's same. It's like not just stuttering, like we can't just pronounce, but also some deaf people can't really just sign clearly. Like some
mm,
people are like born with like a deformed hand, or it's
mm,
just like so it's like it prevents them from like be able to communicate clearly with other
mm,
deaf individuals. So there are a problem within the deaf signing community. So
right.
but so I find myself like simultaneous commute we call it syncom. So I always communicate and sign in a meeting with their hearing individual join my meeting that I know I'll only speak to if we're like on a one-on-one meeting. So it's
Hmm.
because that's how I grew up. So I couldn't
Right.
help it. And
Yeah.
also it helped that they see the tone in my voice because when I sign, people are looking at my face, facial expression, thought I was like frustrated. Like, no, 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 no. Hear my voice, so you know that my tone is different. It's like I'm not showing like frustration. So like when I sign, because for some deaf people they sign very, it's like very excited. It's like and I don't want to hear in person to have a different interpretation. And it's like I feel obligation to clarify. Like, hey, I'm not angry. It's just a like expression of stuff. It's not it's just signing. Um, so it's been a challenge for me, like growing up. It's like, oh yeah, I have to clarify. So, but
Mm-hmm.
so yesterday I had a hard time like coming up with like what I'm trying to say because of it's not like me. So like, oh, I can see many of you are deaf, and I have to like sign, and I find myself like, wait a minute. I have to like backpedal a little bit, like what I'm trying to say, because I'm trying to sign it and speak at the same time. Because in a deaf sign community, it says, well, does it follow the English syntax? So it's like that's why I'm having a hard time like speaking and signing at the same time. It's like, oh, I see my deaf colleague. I would have stayed in this particular way, but it's like for me to provide that contact, it's like it's so hard. So it's like I
Mm-hmm.
find myself like stuttering in that sense. So it's like so it's really tough. It's code switching. It's really tough for me in that here
Mm-hmm.
world like where we working together, collaborating together. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so the other things that some people don't realize, but I just want to bring that. I thought Paul might be interested in that aspect. So yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, what you were doing right now, you're signing and speaking. So
yeah.
you're essentially communicating in two different languages, aren't you? Right? ASL is not the same as it's not just a signed version of English, if I understand correctly.
Yeah.
So is that must be difficult, or have you just
Yeah.
normalized it, become just what you do?
Yeah, yeah. People call like I think you probably heard the term like pidgin sign English. Uh, it's I'm not trying to say picture because translate. It's the PIDGIN.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like
Oh,
saying it's like
pigeon signed English. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but also by you doing English and ASL at the same time is helpful to you. Um, oh, I see what you're saying. You were saying that it was a form of accommodating hearing people. Is that right? Like you're accommodating to the fact that most people don't sign, so you have to speak verbally while signing at the same time. I see. Okay. Yeah. Um, having the text in the transcription here is helpful for me, but I can also pay attention to your voice, and so we don't normally think of having like two modes happening simultaneously when we communicate. now that we have technology that can do this, um, it it's an option, right? So I think the transcription isn't always correct. So sometimes I do need to rely on what I'm hearing. But having multimodal communication it is a form of universal design, right? Like having this ability to have multiple ways of communicating, um, not just bound to just hearing and speaking, right? Um, so what there's nothing wrong with having text on screen and listening at the same time, but I wonder to what extent people who hear and communicate using one mode, just the oral channel, um, if they see this as something as a luxury, like you're having this video transcribed, um, and I've heard people say this like that it is, you people have said you should be lucky you have the transcription. And I'm like, no, I'm not lucky. That's the how I that's how that's probably the best way for me to communicate is to read what people are saying. Because if left up to my ears, I'm not going to hear them. So there's a lot of interpersonal dynamics that just need to change when we're addressing um, accommodations and what we can do for people with a disability. You know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
It's, I know we don't have enough time, so I would love
I
for
know we're probably getting close to our
we another
time.
meetup for sure.
Okay, got another meeting. Got it. Got to give Jenny a break too.
Um, Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. It was very nice to meet everybody.
I, I,
Um,
I, I,
oh, sorry, Amy, June. Yeah.
it's okay. Sometimes I can't tell when there's a pause and I
Mm,
interrupt, so I apologize.
yeah.
I would love to stay connected, Paul.
Okay, great, excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't use social media, so I'm not on LinkedIn. But can I? And I don't think I can get your email address, Travis, from LinkedIn. But Onya Dakachi, I assume has it right.
I can share all of the information. Anyone that is being given to me, I will share all of that with you.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
And
great. I
thank
look
you.
forward to learning more about you guys and working with you. And I think there's the world isn't perfect, so there's lots of opportunities to make it perfect.
Okay. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Okay.
everyone. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, everybody.
This
Yeah.
this meeting has been so awesome, and I really learned a lot. And I hope we get to do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you, Onya Dakachi, for putting us all together.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have a nice
Yeah.
day,
Okay.
everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.